Yeah. How do, Cole? You all good? It's us again.
Yeah, all
And
is well.
also, an After Dark special. I did not think this podcast this week, you made me look like a bit of a fool. Put it on my Instagram. Oh, there's no podcast. And you were like, oh, is there?
All is
So
well.
this was like a nice surprise. Granted, I'm like, what, how many drinks in? But, Friday night, date night,
20
So,
beers. Date night with me. Oh, that's nice.
oh, with my wife. But
Oh,
Colin,
got that then.
yeah. So what do you want to talk about? What are you
Well,
feeling?
feeling a little bit of early 90s, late 80s wrestling, old school
Ooh,
wrestling.
old school. You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy.
And we can have a little discussion about WCW, NWA, kind
Stuff
of
that
versus
you weren't really
WWF.
a fan of because you were like a WWE
I
lifer,
know
aren't you?
bits that happened. I have
Yeah,
contacted.
but,
I know
you
about
know,
Starcade and all of
yeah.
those things.
So
Yeah.
I'll let you start off then. So, like, in a bracket of, let's say, eight. So, yeah, when were you born? So it was like
87.
87. So you were like on the tail end. So, like, 90s wrestlers then, what was the first wrestler that got you into wrestling? You know what I mean? Like, was it?
Oh, obviously my favourite wrestler ever,
I'm scared
Shawn
to ask.
Michaels.
Oh, God. This love affair.
The love
I,
affair started when I was about 4 or 5 years old.
see, I get it. I get why people like him, but I hate him with a bitter
He was
rage.
the first big star when I
Not the
watched it.
first.
I got to
Oh,
watch.
yeah, for you, yeah.
I got to watch the Rumble where it was him and Bulldog at the end, and that was kind of I'm hooked onto this.
To be fair, like me seeing Shawn Michaels because I'm a bit older, it was the rockers, the hair metal kind of
Yeah,
Shawn Michaels. Seeing the barbershop for the first time because like it was weird because that I never really watched the Attitude Era. Like I had videotapes and stuff, but when I first got cable, it was like what late 90s. I had cable for a bit, and Sky was free back then, so I was watching all these like the rockers, like out of the two, you think Marty was it Jannetty?
yeah.
He was the more quicker one because, like, now you think, look
He
at
was the
Jeff
older,
Hardy.
more experienced.
Yeah, you think Matt
Of the
Hardy,
two.
Jeff Hardy, out of the two, who's the more quicker one? So, like, look at Jeff. So you thought Marty was the faster one. You think, yeah, he's going to be the most. Yeah, you didn't think Shawn, and now look at him. He's Shawn
Shawn
Michaels.
He always wanted to be a singles wrestler, and he
I know.
he got
And he
his way
smashed
eventually
it.
after he learned his trade.
Look how many super kicks you have now. The end pro is it's not a finisher anymore.
Yeah,
It's a transition move, which back in the day, I remember when I was a kid, when I first saw the super kick, I hate Shawn Michaels. But that kick, fucking hell, it could take your head off.
because remember when a DDT was a finisher?
Yeah. Snake the bait.
Jake
Yeah.
did it.
Oh, that.
Short
Mate,
home card going. DDT.
you got to think old school. Leg drop, Hulk Hogan. You got to think a gorilla press, Ultimate Warrior. These are like transition moves now. Think about even like was it Big Boss Man? Was it a sidewalk slam?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. You think about that now. That's just like transition. You do that, and then you do your finisher. These back in the day were like moves, weren't they? Like memories.
Yeah, the leg drop's the worst finisher ever, though.
Yeah, but even like Hulk Hogan said, if he knew it was going to do that much damage on his back, he wouldn't have chose it. He chose it because he thought, oh, it's an easy move. That just shows Hulk Hogan just lazy. Like, I know 4 moves. I can do a leg drop, easy money. And I look.
Yeah, but anyone can take a leg drop, though. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, I know it's not one of those where you don't have to lift someone. I get it. Yeah, but still. See, I wasn't a Hogan guy. Like
I hate the Hogan. Never
see,
liked him.
when I was growing up, you had, but there was 3 you had to choose from. It was Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, or Hogan, and I was always an Ultimate Warrior. Now looking back, again, he's like Hogan's the most laziest wrestler, but look-wise, as a kid, the energy, like you didn't know he's like full of cocaine and shit. But for a kid, you're like, oh my God, he's got ADHD or something. Oh my God, look at him. And you're like, shit.
He just
But
runs around like a madman.
we're looking back. we all should have liked Macho Man because he was smart. He had the gimmick. He had
I love Macho Man. Macho Man had some great matches.
Looking back, it's just I wish as a kid I had action figures and everything, but I never respected Macho Man. And also, R.I.P. Macho Man's brother, the genius.
Professor.
Yeah,
The genius,
yeah.
Professor.
Nah, but again, he was a legendary guy. Like I remember as a kid. Again, granted, it's Vince McMahon. In the 90s, you had to have a job. Like everyone had a gimmick job. So you had like Big Boss Man, police officer, then he becomes a wrestler because Nails, prisoner, then becomes a wrestler. Atom Bomb is my favourite.
Do you remember the Mountie?
Say again?
Remember the Mountie?
Yeah. Yeah, because he had the...
Yeah, him and Bossman had a mad match. I can't remember when it was. It was dead early in the 90s. About who's the most authoritative figure in the WWF.
Yeah. But you look, Canadians are the most nicest, politest people. Mountie, I got scared about Canadians growing up. And then you watch like How I Met Your Mother and stuff. Canadians are meant to be the most polite people. And you're thinking, did no one tell the Mountie? You know what I mean? Like, he's zatting people. He had an angry face. Yeah. His action figure looks angry. He had like that. And his hands went, yeah. I think you could take the hat off if I remember. Because I had all the Hasbros. I remember when
so many.
I remember the family members. It got to the point where I remember one Christmas, no disrespect to Valentine, but I had Greg the Valentine hammer. And I love him to bits, but you know when you're getting to that many action figures where they're going, okay, we had the Bushwhackers one year, but they bought me, but they could have bought the box set, but they bought me and Justin, both of them. So it's just like, I looked at Justin and went, which one have you got? And he goes, and we had to swap. But like now looking back, I don't know. I can't tell the difference. But when I was a kid, I looked at Justin. I was like, you've got my favourite. So we had to swap. But like now, who was my favourite? It's probably the one that went in the Rumble like that. I walked all the way around and carried on. Because that was a good figure as well. Because you did that.
Yeah, I had loads of those stories. You did a bit about car boot sales and trying to find them like with some pocket money.
Yeah. See, I had him
like a wrestling ring somewhere.
Because you're a bit younger than me, so when I was at the peak, we had all the figures. I remember Toys R Us. So like the first year, you get all your main ones. So I had Bret Hart, Ultimate Warrior, I think Undertaker, and I had someone else, Legion of Doom. So that was the first year I had. And then the second year, then each year it gets to the, have you got this one? Mm-hmm. So, I even said to Justin, like, because he's sorting out Mom's shed, Bret Hart's in there. I don't know what condition he is, but it's my favourite figure of all time. But Justin's like, it's in there. So it's been in there like 30 odd years. So it could come out just white, but I've got that figure. Oh, I can't wait. So I might do a live, and then it just the disappointment when it just evaporated. Yeah. So what other wrestlers besides HBK? Was there anyone else that kind of jumped at you growing up before the Attitude Era?
I like Diesel a lot as well because Sean's bodyguard.
Yeah.
Obviously, Razor was top draw with Sean.
Razor, hands down, he was the coolest. I love the way Vince McMahon had never watched Scarface, and he just was like, "This is the best thing I've ever seen." Like, Vince, do you not watch films? Because she's just like
too busy taking skills.
And just working out six times a day or something. Doesn't know what a burrito is, but has a steak burrito every day, as you do. But he calls it a steak sandwich.
Vince is what he wants to do. I mean,
yeah, but I kind of give him till probably 2003, 2004, and then I'm like, Vince, the benefit of the doubt. But even then, he was underhanded. Like the idea, like the territories, like even his dad was like, you can touch this, but you can't touch this. And then he went, or
I steal everyone.
I destroy it. And like
I used to. I kind of
Oh no, after you, like I was just like.
I was gonna say, when I was little, the Undertaker used to scare the life out of me. Oh,
Because I was a bit older, he never used to scare me, but it was just like when I saw Kane for the first time, I thought,
I
fuck.
forget that. That's too late. But with the casket match,
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But like the idea that Undertaker, I think, yeah, 1990, he didn't scare me, but you thought when Million Dollar Man came out, he goes, I've got this guy. You thought, he's winning. Because this guy just came out with his grey little gloves, and you thought, who the fuck is this guy with his little bag under his eyes? He wasn't scary in that respect. You knew he was an enforcer. You didn't think years after the streak, just this unstoppable American badass.
Yeah, it was that casket match with Yokozuna.
Yeah.
And then everyone came down, all the heels. They all did their finishers, and he was all fucked. And then they put him in the casket, and it was taking the casket away.
Is that the one where he sees his body raising up?
Yeah, and the lightning hits it, and then the smoke popped up, and then he's on the screen, and oh my god, it was terrifying.
It was cheesy, but that's what they. It's like stuff like the early 90s. I love Repo Man. Like the idea that this guy's going to he comes out with that. You look like the Berg. He's like, I'm going to repossess shit, and it's like stuff like the gimmicks alone, like stuff like shouldn't work, but it worked in the 80s, 90s. Like IRS again, amazing action figure, amazing guy. It's amazing to think that's Bray Wyatt's dad. But the idea, because I was watching, I'm going to start rewatching all the Nitros, and the first Nitro I watched, he's left WWF, and he's like, I am Mr. Wall Street, and he goes, and looks at the camera, and goes, the IRS might be looking for me, and you're like, oh, because he used to be IRS.
You remember when WCW, when Alondra Blaze dropped the title in the bin?
I remember watching that, like,
I remember watching that.
Because that was, yeah. Because again, I think it was in 95, was it 94, 95? Because I think it was just before NWO, so it's got to be before 96. So she left. But it's like, yeah, just drop it in the bin, as you do. And you're like, my God. But then you got to think Ric Flair, when he went to the Royal Rumble, he had the WCW belts. And the idea that your little brain goes, but he's WCW champion, but he's going to the WWF Royal Rumble. My little brain went, it's just like anything could happen.
I hated the finish of that Rumble.
Yeah.
As a kid, it didn't bother me because Ric Flair was cool.
Yeah, but you got to think Hulk Hogan's the good guy, and somehow he does a heel thing, but no one notices. It's the most. You watch it; it is good because he did an Iron Man. He survived the whole time. But then you're like, does Hogan not understand? And then when you're older, you're like, Hogan does what's best for him. It's politics, isn't it? The end of that. But when you was a kid, you thought, oh, he's Mr. All-American. You eat your vitamins. He's a good guy. But oh my God, he's politics in.
That's why you got to beat the Yokozuna at WrestleMania.
Yeah, but then I feel sorry for Bret Hart that one time. When he came out with the black eye, and then Bret Hart lost, and then he won. And you're like, where's the fuck? Nah. It's like 90s. I think, for me, peak time, like, got into wrestling with Ultimate Warrior, but I stayed for Bret Hart in 92. Like, SummerSlam. Bret Hart, Ultimate Babyface. Granted, he was versing British Bulldog in London, but even then, I was still cheering Bret Hart. The idea that he carried that match as well.
Yeah,
just,
with,
off his tits.
Off his head.
Yeah.
Politely.
Everything. Yeah. It's just, it's a different time because you look back and you're like, but he made it look effortless. I know, like, your views on Bret Hart. Like, some people call him the most boringest wrestler, but he was a storyteller to me. Like the submission holds, he was a tactician, the stuff he could do in the ring. Just no one could beat him.
He was all right, I suppose.
See what I mean? Like, I don't think we're ever going to agree because you're a HBK fan.
Yeah,
I'm a Bret Hart fan. Because they were warring, you know what I mean? Like,
you beat him in an Iron Man match. Beat him at Survivor Series.
Yeah, but if this was a real match, Bret would have won. Because Vince McMahon had a hard-on for him.
He tapped out of the sharpshooter he did, allegedly.
Do you want to get involved in the screw job? I think that's podcast for itself. Because I remember that was the only one. I remember my mate recorded it and we watched it together. And because I'm a massive Bret Hart fan, you know, when you just like your brain can't comprehend what just happened, and he's doing and then I'm there like, and then because I'm a big WCW fan, and then what happens next week on Bravo? He's there walking down, and you think this is the golden era, and then we know that's again another podcast. Yeah, that's probably another way I can do my baggers love for Bret Hart.
We have an episode on Bill Goldberg injuring people.
Mate, we need about 14. The only other person that could beat him is Nia Jax. But, mate, that alone could be a series. Nia, Hurts.
Yeah.
Everyone, yeah. So, anyone else? Anyone else jump out here? What memories do you have from that like vintage era?
Oh. Do you remember when I don't know what if it was WWF or WCW when Sid broke his leg?
Like that. Yeah, that was WCW. Yeah, it is the most hot.
I remember watching that.
I showed Sarah because it was on I think What Culture that they did the top 10 worst injuries in the ring. But you forget, but the way he landed, it's like that. Like
90 degrees.
And because he's so tall as well, it's like that. And you're like, oh.
He's a scary guy as well.
Yeah. Like I love Sid because he had Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, whatever. Sid was a scared, like, yeah. Like I remember like just the vest alone, black trunks. Again, generic kind of costume, like Austin, but comes down with the swagger. And you remember anyone else that would wear a costume like that, you think, jobber. But him and Austin made the black trunks look cool.
No, I like Knight's doing it now, really.
Yeah.
Leather jacket.
Oh, I love LA Knight. Like Elo Drake, I know we're getting off topic, but in TNA, or Impact it was called, like he was the best talker, he had the moves, he had the style. So now he's LA Knight. Like, I know the Bray Wyatt stuff, but it hasn't touched him. I think he's going to be I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of years he could be world champ. Or even at least Intercontinental, you know. For me, like, there's certain, like, I like Cross. I know, again, when he got thrown out the Rumble, a bit of a jobber. But again, he's got that look where he could be, with Trips, anyone could be champ. Because he's like, look at Gunther.
Coming back, isn't he?
Well, that's going to be a podcast where we're fucking rant. I'm angry because we've had such a good period between, was it November now? You got to think yeah, it's good, but 6 months. And look, I don't know what their takings are and stuff, but storyline, you know what I mean? Like the bloodline, that's Sami Zayn. Like the Rumble was good, but the end, seeing him just do the chair shot and he just apologizes, and then Jay's leaving the ring. Mate, I had goosebumps. Like it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had goosebumps. You know, like I've just,
How many beers deep was you by then?
So I had big beer, so I had about 5 beers. But still, yeah, think about it, it's a 4-hour thing. I was being responsible. There's no 12 packs.
I was being responsible.
I know, but you watched the first Rumble, which I was amazed. The guys was the first Rumble. But then we kind of thought, because if you do it any later, you don't know if Sami Zayn, because that's, again, that was another idea. Was Sami going to win? But then when you saw the first, I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely Cody. But again, this is another, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
So, because you weren't really because you're WWF/E for lifer. Did you ever watch any WCW growing up? Was there any wrestlers?
It used to be on Channel 4 now and again. I remember I used to watch it after football when I was a kid.
Any wrestler looking back that you thought, oh, that was a WCW guy that you thought, oh.
Yeah, there was only really one. It was Surface Thing.
Surface Thing, yeah.
Before he turned into a crow. It was cool. He did a sharpshooter better than Bret. Yeah, it was awesome.
But you forget, because I watched that first Nitro, I forgot how much Surface Thing was over. He did, like he was doing moves and stuff, and he's like,
it was good, well.
Yeah, it was good, but you forget how, like now, he's like, Goth Sting, for me, that's the only one I remember. Because you got to think, 96 onwards, where probably 95, I don't know, these guys' career probably the late 70s. So say So a good 10 years, he was Surfer Sting. For the rest of his career, he was Goth Sting. And it's The Crow as well, because I love the Crow film. So the idea that, Scott Hall said to him, have you ever seen the film The Crow? No. And he bases his whole day. And also, you say a lot about WCW, but think about it. He's versing the NWO. And what colours does he choose to fight against them? Black and white. So when he drops down, is he joining them? Is he not? So as a kid, you don't know. And when you find out he's not joining them, that's like rubbing, like, I don't want to be part of your stable, but I have become what you associate. Like, the mind games alone. You're telling me that's not, you might be a WWF fan, but that writing,
It was okay for 97 weeks for it.
Yeah. Mate, I'm an NWO fan. Yeah, I know it got a bit ridiculous when who wasn't in the NWO, but for that
It's going to be
moment.
When we do an NWO episode, there will be a quiz on all the members, and they expect you to name everyone.
I can name about 30, 40.
Good. We'll find out soon.
Yeah. I think the core members back in the day was Eric Bischoff, $1 Million Man. You had Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Hogan, and then was it 6? So that to me, and Virgil. So those were the 7. That was the core, and Big Show. So 8. God, this again. So so that was to me, when it got to that level, that was just right. And then when you got Horace Hogan in, and everyone else, I think Disco Inferno must have been a member at a time. I don't know if it was Wolfpack but I remember he wore colours, and even I was like, Buff Bagwell, you name it. It got to the point where it's just like, is it just Goldberg, DDP? Is it just those two? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Cool. So what would you say, if you had to say to someone, go back and watch a match from that period of time as a wrap-up, what would you recommend?
Well,
a WCW match, and I'll give a WWF match.
Oh, you want a WCW match?
Yeah.
So to me, it's going to be the third man. So like Bash at the Beach, where you think, who's the third man? Granted, Bobby the Brain Heenan kind of ruined it when he goes, could Hogan be the third man? You're like, shh. So like 1996, that pay-per-view, granted, not as a match, but as a finisher. But then the match I was going to, but it's not in that period. Saying that, no, it's after 98, isn't it, when Owen Hart died? So yeah, try to think. It's just anything like with NWO. It's just like, just watch that vintage period of, and as you said, Goth Sting, Crow Sting, yeah. But if we're talking about WWF, it would be, the ladder match, your boy, HBK versus Razor Ramon. That is a match that I will always stay with me. Not because
or the Isla match between Shawn and Brett.
Yeah, it was good. I think the only problem is they should have had a full before. You can't just have an hour and then they end it. And I know, but like, look, you watch it back, the crowd enticed them, but because they had to wait the whole time, the crowd was like, I get why they were doing it, but like, the crowd was getting bored, because you got to think it's the first Iron Man match. Now it's natural, isn't it? People know what they're expecting. You got to think when MJF versus Bryan Danielson, that Iron Man match, everyone knows the ins and outs, knows what to expect. So yeah, I know what you're saying. I enjoy it because I love technician matches. I love Iron Man matches, but for the general public, if they watch that first, then we'll go.
That and the ladder match against Razor.
Yeah, that Razor match, it's just they reinvented it, but as a first American ladder match, just works. Yeah,
it's awesome. Well, that'd be a good little episode to.
Yeah, but as I said, there's another thing. Like, we can just pick stuff. Like, even if we pick, like, even if between ourselves, we can start one off, and then if people want to jump on the bandwagon, we'll pick a match, pay-per-view, whatever, and watch it together. Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Can do. It's not my network. I will pirate the shit out of that.
But you know what I mean.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Right, till next week, the baggers.
Love you, mate. See you soon. Bye, bye.
Enjoy your beers.
Bye.
Have a nice night.